110 of We the GamerCast. It's the official podcast of WeTheNerdy.com, and it comes to you on iTunes and Google Play and mother-loving YouTube every Monday usually, but this is a very special Patreon-powered episode, number 110. It's our second returning guest of the month of October, and it is none other than the Dave Moore. If you're watching the video, you'll notice that I was screaming through Lincoln. If you're listening to the audio, that may have sounded weird. I got a little something in my throat. Let's make sure everything's recording good. Everything looks like it's good. That means you're hearing this. And you're hearing this thanks to all of our patrons at patreon.com/makeusbetter, especially our platinum executive producer, Mr. Corey Hicks, our gold executive producer, Mr. Sheldon Benedict, and our gentleman executive producers, made that up on the spot, Nick Militia, Joel Brooks, James Johnson, Dr. Doom, Jesse Armstrong, Glocko Schaefer, Joey Hare, David Ray, and Mike Drummy. Guys, thank you so much for making this happen. I have to say, I'm loving the returning guest thing. What I'm doing is I'm recording them in the evening, and I'm having a beer while I sit down with an old friend rather than a coffee date. We've graduated to second date territory where we're just getting drink. That's what we're doing. No real rigmarole other than to say, if you're new, if this is your first time here, here's the deal. Every week I have sweet hangs with, usually it's a stranger from the internet. If you want to be on the show, tweet at me. It's Sean Capri, Sean the Connery, Capri like the pants. My guest, Dave Moore. He is at DaceSpace on the internet, especially Twitter. You may remember him from episode 45, where we first met. If you like this, or if you want to take a little trip down memory lane, you can find episode 45 on your iTunes feed or over at DaceSpace.com/WeTheGamerCast. It's all part of that indie network that's going on over there. This is the first time that I heard of the network and all the different shows that Dave had going on. That was on episode 45, but this is episode 110. A couple more than double the amount of episodes. Nobody can really know for sure. Guys, I hope you really enjoy this. Let's get right into it. Here he is, Dave Moore. It's okay. You don't have to. Like, don't let me tell you what to do. Dave, what are you drinking?
Just Coke.
I think I'm going to drink this. I think we're just going to get... Oh, that didn't really pop.
No.
You know, it's supposed to do that thing where it's like, psst, I love you. Like, you know, when you open a beer and it's like, psst, I love you. Like, it didn't do that.
I didn't really hear the psh sound. But
I think the beer might be mad at me.
I don't think the beer usually tells you that it loves you. I think that might be when you have a little bit too much beer.
Oh, man. Dave, we often just... Did you know that I'm recording, by the way?
Oh, I figured you were.
Can you just tell?
No, I actually couldn't tell. I wasn't sure. I felt like there's a part where you, like, were talking to the bottle, and I was like, oh, Sean's recording, because he wouldn't be making this joke. You know,
because I'm a boring person when I'm not recording. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, I'm just aware of how your show rolls.
What do you think? What do you think of me in real life, Dave? Outside of podcasting, Sean, what do you think of me as a real person?
I think you're a lot taller than I imagined.
Oh, right, we've met. Right. Okay. So let's put that out there.
We've met in person since the last time we recorded on this show.
I dream about that day.
Do you?
Yeah.
I see the giant Pikachu. And me fist bumping Donkey Kong right before I met you.
Yep. I remember watching you in the Nintendo store. I could see you from outside. Both you and Bobby, I was a super creeper in real life. Like, I'm not. Maybe it was a defense mechanism to just be like, it was testing you guys to see if we really were supposed to be friends. But basically, I just like creeped the shit out of Bobby. Like, I was in the train station, and we're trying to find each other, and neither of us really know it that well. And I made the assumption that he knows the New York, like, Penn Station, that he knew it really well. So I'm like naming things and trying to figure out where he is, and he's like, I don't have any idea. So finally I spot him. There he is, the Nintendo guru himself, and I text him, I see you, MFer. And he's like, I was kind of seeing if he would just like hop right back on a train to anywhere, but he didn't. We hugged.
Oh.
No, and I did the same thing to you.
Yeah, we hugged. We went to Macy's.
We did go to Macy's. You know, I'm really glad. I feel like that was a fateful day for all of us, really. So much has happened, Dave, since we met.
it's confirmed like this reality. Like there's this thing that we as podcasters, we're in this big super indie podcasters. One of your guests said we're a podcast family. Like that day like confirms the family thing.
Yep.
Right? Like we all met in person and it didn't feel weird.
No.
Like there was nothing odd about it. It was just like a couple of friends got together and met each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like any other day.
Well, the coolest thing too was when you started like FaceTiming other people, and it was like next thing you know, there's like Johnny Casino's there, or John Beeler in real life was there. Right. Justin Masson was there, and that was even more like the fact that we were together was one thing, and then we started reaching out, and then people were like not jealous, but like, oh man, I wish I was there. Like that this was a thing that people may have had like a fear of missing out on. Like I want to be able to do that again so badly, but like it's so cool that we were able to just. And actually, I want to give you like a big thank you because like you really made that happen. You're like, oh, Sean and Bobby are going, like I'm gonna be there, and like I feel kind of like a jerk because I wasn't asking you to come, but you came anyway.
Yeah,
and it was like,
so here's that the other side of this is you guys mentioned it. And I was like, I'm off. Like I'm totally off that time. Like I could totally make this happen and I can get out there, but neither one of them is inviting me. Like, so I get I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna send Sean a message because I talked to Sean, right? Bobby doesn't talk to me. Bobby.
This is before the 17 podcast too.
Yeah, this is before.
He was freshly the Nintendo guru.
Yeah, he hadn't become like. He still had the Geek Cast, right?
Oh, that's right.
He occasionally mentioned Batman. Like occasionally. I think he was wearing a Batman shirt, which seems odd.
He was, yeah, definitely repping the Batman hoodie.
Right. And I was like, I don't want to just invite myself on this like if we ran Nintendo adventure. But I totally do.
But it was so good. Like this is something that this is why I have so much appreciation for you, because like it just, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, I consider you to be such a very close friend of mine, and it all stems from actually meeting you. And like, that's why I feel so like I'm lucky in 1,000 ways in life. And like, basically you did what Chelsea did. Like I wasn't asking for anything. Like we just kind of like hung out one time, and then she's like, yeah, I think we should get married. And I'm like, okay, how about we date first? And that's basically how it started. That's totally not how it started, but essentially like I just wasn't really going for it. And this is why you and her are so similar. I've just sort of like lucked out. The stars aligned, and for some reason I was in the right place in the right time. And now I have like some very close people in my life, and I think that's so cool, man.
I listened to this show before I was on it. And there's the first time I was on this and you were beaming, and I was like, yeah, because I am so excited to be on this show.
Okay. I want to see. I'm gonna make a promise. I'm not sure if I'm even gonna do this or not. Maybe at the very end of the episode, I want to try and grab some clips. Although you're on episode 100, so maybe if this is your first time listening to an episode with Dave, and go to episode 100, there's a couple clips in there as well. But in the intro, surely I will be mentioning the first time that you're on. And you're right, you are beaming, man. Like you're just like, you're full of energy, and we're joking about all the 14 different podcasts you got going on at DaceSpace. I remember specifically talking about PNG, and you and I just like geeking out over, oh, we both know that that's a picture format. Like what the heck, man?
and talking about my dad and Crash Bandicoot, and I was just so excited. And you were one of the first like shows where I felt like I could reach out, right? Like I had kind of built this thing. How long ago was that? Like almost a year ago? More than a year ago.
Like we met a year ago.
We met a year ago.
Yeah.
So, almost a year and a half, maybe longer, right? We did this. I was just starting to reach out to podcasts, so that still makes it like 2015, right? So I had been doing podcasts like in my own like little closeted space since like 2012.
In like, Dave's space.
Yeah, in Dave's space. Not Dave's space, Dave's space.
And that's the laugh. That is what just gets me. Is that like when you think something is like genuinely funny, you smile with both sets of teeth, and just like you shiny laugh. It's just so infectious, man. I just think it's hilarious. And you also remind me of a good friend that I grew up with. His name was Chance. And I think that's really it. Is like, I don't know.
I'm just a Chance replacement.
You're my American Chance.
American Chance.
I miss you, Chance, very much. If you ever listen, I miss Chance quite a lot. I don't think he ever knows. Dave, I'll just tell you this as an aside. My friend Chance moved to Vancouver because I do know why. Because he was into 3D animation from like a very young age. Him and Antonio Guillen have a love for the word blue without an E. And he went to Vancouver to become a very talented 3D animator, which is awesome. And he threw a party before he left, and I couldn't make that party. And it's one of the biggest regrets in my life. Like,
because you couldn't, yeah. And
because I feel like, I don't know this, but I feel like I definitely should have been there. But I feel like he may not, maybe perhaps he never thinks about it. But I should ask him about this. But I project a little bit and think he's always been very mad at me for not being there. Or when he left, that I lost a connection. It's almost like the trains like were backing up into each other and they never like connected again. And then he just like left, and I've been here in stupid Alberta.
Here's what I'll say is there's this thing where like, you know, like high school ends. Let's just throw this out here to use that example, because I feel like it's kind of similar, and everybody's like, yeah, we'll keep in touch. But nobody keeps in touch. Like, let's be honest. I've formed completely new friendships with completely different people, like you and Bobby and this John guy, man. Yeah. I don't know how I started talking to him 3 times a week on a podcast or anything.
I think you guys should actually take it easy on this thing, because I think there's some friction. Can I like make it? Let me put a pin in that, because I don't want to walk away from this, but I want to put a pin in the John friction.
Okay, but here's the thing: is everybody in high school says they're gonna stay in touch. Like, I don't talk to a single person from high school. I have like one friend, and I met him in preschool.
You don't talk to anybody?
No, just Jeff. And Jeff I met in preschool, so that doesn't count.
It's also amazing that our best friends are electrical engineers.
Yeah, electrical engineers by day, and they're Jeff Daly by night.
That's right. Exactly the same with neighbor Matt.
Right. But but see, that's the thing. It's like, that's my lifetime friend. Like, I had a couple friends, and I guess there'd be a couple I would still, you know, like talk to if they were like, hey, I'm in town. But like the ones I talk to on a regular basis, the ones that I'll be like, let's go get lunch or whatever, or like, let's do a podcast once a week. Like, there's just Jeff. And that's just how it is. And so like, your friend like doesn't mean he's gone. Like, we're friends on
Nintendo. Like, yeah, he's El Robo Chanco.
You could probably message him on Facebook. Right, but like,
I know, but it's not the same, man. You know what the thing is, though? I feel like I could like show up at his house, and like we would just, for some reason, I picture his parents' house and we would just go play Harvest Moon. Like, he showed me Harvest Moon. I remember thinking, like, what the hell is this? Like, why would anybody enjoy playing Harvest Moon? This is sort of like, and he was just at that level. Like, I just never really like made that move to that style of games until much, much later. But Chance was the person who, like, I would go to his house, and like, that's the first time I played Wave Race, and we would just like, we would have bowls of the soft cheesies, like not the hard crunchy ones, but the soft ones.
The
endless
good ones.
Pepsi, Mountain Dew.
The ones that Justin Massa mailed me, because I don't have cheesies in America.
You don't have those in America?
No, we have Cheetos.
Or in your America? Oh.
We have Cheetos, which are not the same thing. Cheesies are way better. They're like, taste like real cheese, kind of. Like,
wait, I actually don't even know the difference. Cheetos are the soft ones? Cheesies are the hard ones?
No, Cheetos are like
so
like Cheesies, except they're made by Frito-Lay, which are the ones who make like Lay's and Fritos and Doritos.
Okay.
We have Cheetos. I don't know if you have Cheetos. I would assume
I have them all. I have a variety. That's how I can't keep them straight. I just I go buy the ones that, like, I just look at what's inside. I don't have to.
Oh yeah, so we have Cheetos and we have cheesy puffs.
Okay, that's what I mean.
And then we have soft Cheetos.
They're dangerously cheesy.
Cheetos, but we don't have cheesies. You have cheesies.
We are cheesy. That's why our
cheesies come in like the bag. It says cheesies on them, and it looks like.
Oh, thanks.
They're
the one that says cheesies on the front.
but they look like peanut bags.
Uh-huh.
Like that's the kind of peanut bags we would have for like crunchy peanut. But this is the stupidest.
Dave, do you have any friends? Like you said, you don't talk to anybody from high school or anything like that. Is there anybody that you regret that that's the situation?
No, I mean, I have a couple friends. I had the guy that I played Rock Band with a lot. Like he moved away.
Do you hate him for that?
I do, kind of.
Oh,
no, I don't.
Where did he move to?
Wisconsin. Question mark.
All right.
Hi, Cameron.
What's up, Cameron?
My friend Curtis, he went to the University of Toledo, which is not super far away, and I'll see him when he comes into town to take care of his dad. I'll see him occasionally.
Yeah.
And then there's Jeff. Jeff, Curtis, and Cameron. These are my friends. And then there's Johnny Casino, Sean Capri, Bobby Pauls.
Yeah.
But I don't talk to Bobby. Bobby likes to talk about Nintendo too much. He likes to talk Nintendo live.
And on the planet of Nintendo.
Uh-huh.
And what else? What else is there? I can't remember.
It's not like you're on one of those shows or anything.
Oh, right. That one, yeah. If we were at Nintendo, with artwork by Adam Leonard, not to brag. Yeah, that's also one of the funniest things that has come out of Johnny Casino. Is this friendship that he has formed with Adam that you're not allowed to be a part of.
Right.
And there's all these sort of like weird inside jokes that are left, right, and center. Man, even if we are the only people who listen to the shows and this is like the new way of just like interacting with our circle, it's just like, what a world.
It's like we're all leaving just really long voicemails on everybody's phones.
That's right, too, man. That's right. I was listening to Joseph Moran's show, the PlayStation podcast, and that's exactly how I felt. I'm like, man, if I just jumped on a call with him, we would be having this exact same conversation. But here I am just like a passive member of this. But I just find it equally as entertaining and as engaging as a friend. It's like, I just wanted to let you know, Joseph, I'm listening. And I feel like, I don't know.
But it's different because we like know each other. We've connected on this strange like podcasting level, and this is the most rewarding part of this that I've ever gotten out of it.
I agree.
Right? Like,
I agree with you 100%.
I did Character Crunch for years on the college radio station, knowing that no one was listening, only for the entertainment of joy of talking to my friend, right? And that was great. And I loved doing it. I loved DJing on the radio station, even though nobody listened. Like, that was a thing.
Somebody listened.
Oh, God, no. Nobody listened, Sean. Okay. Nobody listened. It didn't even play in the courtyard of the college because the college was so incompetent they couldn't even figure out how to do that. Hi, Cuyahoga Community College.
Hi.
But once again, there we go. It's this thing that I just say hi to companies, organizations. But there's this idea, and like, I don't know. I reach out to the Nintendo dads, and I just say, we're like the kids of Nintendo. I listen to your show. I don't think you guys are huge enough to ignore me completely, like most podcasts. Or hi, Mugglecast, who asked why you should even be talking to me. Mugglecast. It was the first podcast I listened to. It's a Harry Potter podcast. Hi, guys. You guys, I reached out to you, and you were like, why should we talk to you? Like, that's their literal response. And it's like, no. This is not how this space should work.
Yeah.
This is an open community of people who are friends and family who overlap into each other, and this is what has been the best part of all of this. I don't care if a single person listens to my show. And I've said this, and I mean this. If you and Adam Leonard are the only two people who listen to Forget Being Cool, then so be it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, most people don't even like. I shouldn't say. Most people can't say that they're friends with Adam Leonard. So, like, not to brag, but you're already a winner.
Right. But see, that's the thing. Is it's these jokes. It's this overlap. It's this community. It's this that makes this worth it.
So here's something I want to get into, Dave. This is the notion of like getting close with the people that we're meeting on the internet and developing these relationships, and something that once again, I give you credit for it, basically just like barging on in, and now like you're just in my life. And Chelsea is right.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I mean that in all the positivity. Please take that in the spirit in which it's intended. But like, I'll jump on a Skype call and Chelsea be like, "Oh, it's Dave." Like, it's not like I don't know, like it's actually even more normal than like, "Oh, you're talking to your brother? That's weird." Like that would actually be more. It's funny because I was on I was playing some Mario Kart 8 with my older brother. His name is Josh, and I told Chelsea I'm going to play some Mario Kart with Josh, and she actually assumed I would be playing with Josh Stapleton. She thought I meant Josh Stapleton instead of my own brother. So
Right.
that's kind of like where we're at. And I believe it was Josh Stapleton who may have been one of the first people to say to me, like, I consider you one of my like close friends. And I remember thinking like, is this allowed? Is this like, this is, and it like, it wasn't long after that. It's like, well, of course, like we talk about things that like I don't talk about with so many other people.
I grew up in this world where meeting people online and like this idea was so bad. Like it was so frowned upon. Like you're gonna get catfished, or it's gonna be a pedophile, or it's not safe to meet people. You've never seen Catfish?
I don't think so, but I feel like I have heard that. But can you describe what that is?
It's like somebody pretending to be somebody they're not, and then you go to meet them to find out that they weren't the person they were saying they were.
Oh, is that like an online dating thing?
Yeah, it's like a dating thing. Like there's a show on MTV where they get catfish. Like they'll go and they'll show up and it'll be like a weird like lesbian girl with like shaved head.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a thing.
Catfish. Like what does that even mean? Like
there's a whole movie. There's a movie. Watch the movie.
It should be like chameleon or something. Like catfish don't disguise themselves. Catfish is a catfish. Like there's no mistaking a catfish. When you see one from a mile away, you go, that's clearly a catfish. And catfish aren't calling you up and pretending to be like a goldfish.
I don't understand the term,
It's a
Sean.
stupid term, man. Why don't we gotta get on this?
Because we made a movie called it, and then we turned it into an MTV show.
What about Blackfish? Do you remember that movie?
That could be inappropriate.
No, it was about SeaWorld. It was about SeaWorld. It was about the whales. Dave.
No, okay. So, but to go back to this, is there's this level of like, we're not sure from an outsider perspective, you and I would appear as we're podcasters for the Xbox Drive together.
Yeah,
we clearly play some video games together, but there's this like
PSVG
deeper like Sean and I are friends, and I would consider you my friend. Like there's I don't know how far we're going to go into this conversation, but like there was a moment right before Forget Being Cool became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And where basically my life had spiraled kind of suddenly into a different place.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I get up in the morning and handle the situation, and then I'm not exactly sure what to do, but what eventually ends up becoming a thing is I get on a Skype call with you and John
Mm-hmm.
to tell you what's going on, right? And this is a completely personal life conversation about, things. And you guys are the most supportive, like, friends and space that I had around me at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed you guys more than I needed anybody. I needed Jeff. I needed you. I needed John. I needed that support group. And between you guys having this online community, I had the support I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me proves more than anything in the world that you guys are just my friends.
Yeah.
You're not just my co-host on the Xbox Drive. You're not just some guy I met online. You're my friend. And
Mm-hmm.
I will stick to that to the end of the time.
Do you want to get into that?
I don't know. Do you want to, Sean?
I would like to, but I
would like to see what you want to ask, and I will say anything you want at this point, because I mean, clearly pieces of it have gone and circulated out there, I guess.
Sure. Okay. Well, and we can always trust me, I've got 1,000 things we can derail to. So at any moment we can just pull the e-brake, we can slam on the brakes and go into our breaking news. We can go into cruise control somewhere else on the Xbox Drive. We can just slide on into that show if you like. I've got the notes already and everything, and I can put in traffic sounds if you want.
I'll warn you when we get really close to the car wash.
We should put in like I'm driving through, like pretend like I'm driving through different cities, and the background music or like the background sounds are just like, I don't know, like Dutchmen yelling at each other. We'll pretend like I'm driving through Holland or something, or just have like real stereotypical like Canadian music. I don't know what the hell I'm even saying, Dave. I want to say one thing before we jump into this. It all sort of speaks to one of the things that I'm typically, I think, pretty bad at, and that is letting people into my life at this level, and I feel like this is also sort of like an apology to people who I feel like I should have this with so many people, and I'm just very, very awful at that. And I think it might be maybe a defense mechanism, but also,
I would agree with you that I'm not so great at it either. Like with my like day-to-day, like people I work with, like no offense to the people I work with, I love most of the people I work with, right? But like I don't have these relationships with those people, and I don't intend to form those relationships with those people, or even like just the people I run into on a regular basis in my day-to-day life. Like I don't know, I don't usually let people just walk in, although somehow people do walk in, and sometimes I really appreciate it.
I guess I think we're connecting on the same thing, is that it's not really like a conscious decision. It's just sort of like, I don't know, just sort of like what happens. Like, I don't know that anybody like really I don't know really what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to pull the brake, and I'm going to go back actually to this, because you did talk about something that a lot has happened since the last time you were on the show, Dave. I'll loop it back to that. And yeah, man. So when we met, you were with somebody. I actually want to go into where were you in your relationship, and then what happens between when you and I met and then when you and I had that fateful phone Skype call with John.
So people who've listened to me for a long time would know that I was with somebody. And publicly across the internet, I don't know if I would have portrayed that section of my life looking back at it as honestly as I probably should have. Right?
Which means what?
Meaning, despite the fact that if you were to look at my Facebook, or you were to look at the way that I portrayed that communication across the internet, it would appear positive and happy and enjoyable and wonderful. But there's a darker, underlining thing, and this is the best way I can word this, is that like the truth is you can put on a face, right? And you can put up with a lot, but a lot of that isn't worth it, and you will eventually learn that. Does any of this make sense?
Yep, I'm following along big time, man.
And sometimes a lot can just kind of crash and burn all of a sudden. And you'll realize that like getting away from that can make it better.
Right.
And
yeah, keep going.
I guess there's a level of I wasn't being supported in the way that I deserved to be.
Right.
And I was putting up with a lot more than I ever deserved to have to be put up with. Like I didn't need to deal with a lot of that situation, and I never deserved to be treated the way I was.
And how long was that going on for? Because I was
Years.
always like a little confused too, because I'm fairly like, were you engaged?
So, yeah. So let's explain.
Let's roll it back. Let's go back.
Let's roll it back. I met this girl in high school.
So not on the internet. So that's your first mistake.
Right. No, everybody I've met on the internet has been better so far. Anyway, people who listen to other shows.
We'll get to that.
We'll talk about that show in a minute. And
so you met in high school.
In high school, and things seem fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what you know until you learn things, I guess. Like, but life kind of happened, right? Like, situations just kind of made adulthood come on quicker. College kind of rushed that, getting a job, moving out of my house, right? Getting an apartment, like life kind of happened. Multiple surgeries.
When did those? Whoa.
Well, okay.
What? Okay, let's.
So
you can't. And you know me, Dave. I hear these things and I go,
okay,
stop.
Right. So
explain.
Let's explain this in the best way that I can.
Yeah. Like, are you moving out at, like, sort of absurdly early? Are you saying, like, these things are happening to you maybe sooner than you wanted or anticipated, or sooner than they happen for other people? Like, let's start there. Like,
I would say they happen sooner than I would have planned them to happen, I guess.
Okay. And what force, like, guided you along that? Or forced you to do that? She
got kicked out of her house. When she, like, slightly, like maybe a year of us dating, because she was in a foster family.
Okay.
And that led to her having an apartment in which she probably wasn't, like, where she should have been, right? And I don't know, I'm the supportive boyfriend role, I guess, at this point. Right?
I connect with that with you, Dave. Yes.
Not just going to completely just bail, and
that doesn't surprise me at all.
And I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah.
Right. But so she gets put in this, house that's like supportive housing or whatever. Right. There's not even an oven in this house. It's on a third floor in an apartment. Right. I kind of start helping. I've got a job. I'm helping out, doing what I can. Right. Not too much. And then, like, as time progresses, like, we can get a regular apartment, and I don't know, she had 2 surgeries. She had like a massive cyst, a 25-pound cyst removed from her ovary.
Holy crap, 25 pounds?
Yeah, 25 pounds, and this is the biggest cyst they've ever seen ever.
No kidding.
They brought in 6 doctors to look at this thing, right? But at this point, I'm it. I'm her only support.
Wow, okay.
So, I don't know. Apparently, a lot of things are going on behind the scenes that I'm not even aware of.
But how are you dealing with that? Not knowing that there's other things going on that we'll get to, but, like, you hear this news and you go, like, what's your reaction? Because, like, I feel like that is a gut check moment, and it's like, am I in this or am I not? And if you're in 110%.
Yeah, and so I'm in. What am I going to do? I'm the only one here.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who's going to sit in this hospital waiting room.
Right.
I'm going to be the only one who's able to check in on her. Right? So what am I going to do? Am I going to be the bad person here and just bail and be like, peace out, good luck? And I don't know, maybe that made a lot of things happen a lot faster than they would, but at this point we're in. And to me, I'm not just in this. I'm not just 110% in this as me, but I think we're in this together.
Yep.
And we've been together long enough that we're a team and we should be working as a team. But in the reality, and let's just say this and let's just make this clear. The support that I was giving her wasn't being brought back in return.
Right.
Right. So me wanting to do these podcasts and grow and do this as a person and do all these things that I wanted to do. Forget being cool 3 times a week wouldn't exist.
Right.
Let's be honest. Right now, right here on my favorite podcast, the GamerCast.
You don't have to say that.
It's true though.
Moving on.
It would not last the 50 or whatever episodes that it did. And whatever point we're at now. And it's going to keep going. It's never going to stop.
Do you think that that's an extreme example of illustrating what I think the point that you're trying to make is? Because I honestly don't know if I could pull that off. And I feel like I've got an extremely strong
No. And I mean, it is kind of the extreme. But even to the extent that, like, the shows that do exist and the shows that existed before that were not being supported.
Yes.
Like,
okay.
So, like, even what I was doing was being hindered by this... just call it a crutch, but like everything from, I don't know, I gave it my all. I put everything into making this work, and every bit of every ounce of my strength to take care of her through 2 surgeries, to get her an apartment, to move into this house that my parents bought. This duplex. I know this is very confusing to people who don't know me, I guess.
The face I was making was trying not to burp into the microphone.
Oh, I mean, I did that like 12 times before we started.
I'm just kind of handling it in my throat, just so everybody knows. I also like to break up the seriousness every once in a while with a little silliness. But so what you're saying, like, you were demonstrating unconditional love,
right?
And that really is like, so there's a couple of moments I feel that can happen within a relationship that kind of, it's almost like the signal. Is this a green light or is this a red light? And it's up to us to determine, are we actually identifying these red flags, or are we going to take them and look, are we colorblind in a way and we see red as green? So there's a couple things. There's like, I feel like what you went through and this diagnosis and the surgery of this 25-pound cyst is about as close to you getting pregnant together without actually getting pregnant. It's like, that's the only other thing, or maybe one of the other things that lock people in perhaps prematurely or for not all of the right reasons, and then you end up getting locked into a situation that maybe you wouldn't have been otherwise. And then the other thing is, the gut check moment is when you can demonstrate that unconditional love, and because you weren't locked in with a kid, probably for the best, you were able to recognize that it wasn't being reciprocated. But it also, I think it's really like good for you to have this gut check, and I don't know if you've had this yet, so I'm just gonna throw it in your face. You recognized in yourself like what is valuable to you, and you probably did that at an age earlier than most people do. Like I feel like maybe for a lot of people, and like you don't get that until much later. That's why they say, wait, find out what's important for you, find out who you are. That's like, those are all nebulous kind of questions and things that we're supposed to check in on. But you notice that
you might not realize them
until you're faced.
Until you're really faced with it. Right?
Yeah, but then sometimes it's too late. That's the thing, is that sometimes you're faced with these very serious situations, and it's like, well, now you don't even have a choice.
Well, right, and you get locked into this scenario and this thing where, I mean, it's not really a scenario, but this life in which you are, you're in. Mm-hmm. You have locked yourself in.
So did you feel locked in at a certain point? Like, you moved in together. Sometimes that's something that can make people feel like they're locked in, but they're not really.
You're locked in on a year lease in this country. You're locked into a $2,000 bailout.
Right.
I don't just have $2,000 laying around. I'm going to college and working full time at 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Holy crap! There's no way I'm making $400 a paycheck.
Yeah, well, but you have all access to all those scratch and win tickets, right? You can just like scratch a couple just under like, oh, it went missing. Oh, weird, it dropped, and I scraped it with my foot. Winner, chicken dinner for Dave.
The Ohio lottery is really going to pay back someday.
Right. So you felt locked in, but I think what you ended up discovering was that maybe you weren't.
But I cared,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what, because I cared, I was not going to just let it go.
Yeah.
And maybe, and now, and not even maybe, but for sure, 100% now, after time has passed and as life has gone on, what you said is what I realized what is important to me, and I've learned who I am and who I want to be as me. And whether or not that, I don't know if that would sink in without this experience, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Because now I can see like what I will never ever let happen again.
Yeah.
Because I know and I can see the signs and I learn it. And this is what you learn from your mistakes, people. And this is an important thing to realize. I made these mistakes for over 5 years.
Yeah.
And so, that's hard to say. And it's hard to say this publicly. And I haven't said this, on the air. I said this to people around me.
If it makes you feel any better, I've lost recordings before. So maybe you're not saying this publicly.
No. I want this out here. And because this is important, and people, and I seriously mean this.
Yeah.
If you, and I don't want to freak anybody out, right? But like, look at your life, and look and see how happy you really are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you aren't happy, you need to acknowledge that, and you need to do what it takes to change it. Whether, I mean, it doesn't mean just throwing everything away, but sometimes like maybe it means a conversation, or it means being open and honest about something, or maybe it means just doing something for yourself. It's a hard thing to do, and I wish I could have seen it sooner.
And it's easy to look back with that. I don't know, like, it sounds like regret the way that you say, like, I wish I would have done this differently, but like,
it's not regret.
So like, I think this is maybe at the core of it. This is why you and I connect on such a strong level, which is I think we learn in a similar way. Some people don't necessarily have to be like, they don't have to like face the absolute extreme bad situation to recognize, wait a minute, this is negative. Like, some people have like their sensitivity a little bit higher to that sort of thing, but for me, I have to typically score pretty bad before I go, I should probably I have to leave my hand on the burner for way too long. You know what I mean? Like, that's...
Yeah, I have to physically actually walk out with a 3rd-degree burn on my foot from the coffee pot I dropped in my foot before I quit 7-Eleven. Before I realized... No, and let's use that as the example here. Because this is true. I dropped a pot of coffee on my foot at 7-Eleven.
Why'd you do that?
It was an accident,
oh,
Sean.
I mean, how did you do that?
Well, I pulled off the coffee, and it fell and landed on my foot and poured into my shoe.
Holy
and then
crap.
Proceeded to give me a 3rd-degree burn on my foot.
Because it's soaked on your sock and everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then I had to work on it.
Oh, God, I can't even...
For 2 hours. I had to work on it for 2 hours before I could even go to the hospital, because there's nobody else in the store to be there.
Dave, there's a commercial that everybody can look up. It was out of Ontario. It was for, like, work safety or something. They had these series of commercials that was supposed to be, like, accidents are preventable, right?
Sean, I'll send you the security footage of the wall coming down, crashing in front of me.
You gotta be kidding me.
When I worked there, because a car hit the wall, so the oven and everything that was on that wall came crashing down. I was two steps from dying.
Yes, please.
Day.
Okay, that's very serious.
I haven't decided that it's YouTube worthy, but I'll send it to you and see if it is, because I stole the security footage from 7-Eleven.
Wait, oh.
I don't care. It's been so many years. What are they gonna do? I think the term
backwards,
of service,
they'll never notice.
They can fire me. That's it. But I'm already gone.
I
used to joke. Jeff used to work there too, right? And he used to come in late, and we used to joke around like, "What are they gonna do? Fire us? They can't fire us. We've been here 2 years. There's nobody else in the store who knows how to work."
Oh like, my God, I need to see that.
Yeah. Anyway, I will shoot that to you before we go to bed tonight.
Together. That sounded like we're just gonna jump off this Skype call and go crawl into the same bed together. Why are we Skyping right now? Why don't we just record this from bed?
Right. But let's look at this as the thing. It's like, it was that realization that when I went to the hospital, my boss, and I don't know if I can say the F word on this show. It's an explicit show, right?
I guess. I don't know.
But my boss responded with, "I don't know what you should do in the hospital." And then I'm in the hospital, and I wake up in the morning, and I send her a message to say, "Of course I'm not coming today because my foot's, a giant blister ball."
Oh my gosh.
And she says, "I'll see you at your shift, unless you bring in a doctor's note."
Oh,
and I'm like,
"Well,
I was just in the hospital.
You were at work. You should be filling out like workers' compensation. Like, do they have that?"
Yeah. So I didn't fill out workers' comp because I was too afraid to get fired. Because this is the kind of person I am, or at least that I was, or at least who I would let myself be then. Right? This is kind of a completely different example, but it's the reality of like, this is what it takes for me to learn my lesson.
Yeah.
And it sucks. This is not the way I should have learned this.
Right. Because you were only slightly burning yourself in the relationship for years and years, and then eventually the coffee pot did drop on your foot.
Right. The coffee pot that brewed at 210 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's
right.
a silly scale.
Right. It's 210 degrees Fahrenheit, way past boiling. But the point is,
Did you know that boiling is 100 degrees Celsius?
Yes, I know. It makes perfect sense.
Like, it's super easy. Like, zero is freezing.
Is zero. Yeah, I'm aware.
Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's just the easiest thing. It's the easiest thing to understand, but this is America. So
can we just trade? Like, I'll do, like, inches and feet, Like I'll even do miles. Miles are all right.
Inches and
Fahrenheit.
feet makes sense. I don't get kilometers quite yet. But anyway, the point of this conversation
1,000 meters.
It took going to the hospital and then realizing I had to go to a doctor the next day to get approval to be off.
Yeah.
Work. It took that burning pot of coffee to convince me that I needed a new job. Enough to limp into an interview at my current job. I literally limped into this job.
Holy crap. Oh my gosh.
I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't let him see that you're in pain. Don't let him see that you're in pain. Don't let him see that you're in pain. Because that was the interview. Mm-hmm. I had a big scruffy beard. They weren't allowed to have beards at that point. Mm-hmm. I walked out of that interview like, I look like a hot mess. There's no way they're hiring me. But they did. And because of that, it took that burning pot of coffee to get me to push me over that edge. Yeah. Right. So when I got the absolute turning point in this relationship that I was in, this one that was not supporting my own and creative endeavors, who was not properly treating me after everything that I had done. It took that absolute last push for me to realize, and even then it took that time. It still took time.
Well, and I want to because I know ultimately, and I don't want to pry, but I know ultimately that there's something much more significant that ended up happening that came to light. And I'll basically put it like this, just so that people don't maybe get the perception that you were basically looking for somebody who would let you do podcasts. No, she wasn't exactly who she was presenting herself to be. I'll put it that way. So then a discovery is made, and you had to make a call. That's the burning pot of coffee. Just so that I'll just leave it at that. And I don't want to pry too much, but yeah, I just want to make it clear that at least on your behalf, something happened that was pretty significant.
There was a lot more that happened there, but these are the pieces, right? These are the little things that count, and the little things do count. So do the big things, but this is not just about this. This is about the way that my life was. Mm-hmm. Not just it was everything. It was everything from the arguments over what we eat for dinner, from how we pay the bills and what we can do and what we can get by. Everything was a fight. Mm-hmm. Everything. And at some point, nobody wants. You don't want anybody to see that. Mm-hmm. You don't want anybody to see that every day that you get up in the morning, you look forward to going to work because it means not being at home. Mm-hmm. That's not something you want to tell anybody.
Yeah.
But that going to work, and God, everybody knows that nobody likes going to work, but going to work was more enjoyable because it meant more of your own space than it meant being at home. Mm-hmm. And that it's a lot of that, and it's sometimes you need to look at this and go, is what I'm in making me happy?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And it took that boiling pot of coffee to pour on my foot to then go through the sadness, go through the anger, go through a lot of things. And if you guys watch these podcasts, you can see it in my face. At least I can.
Yep.
And you start to realize there is something more here to life and everything, and being happy and enjoying your day to day as just, and caring about what you need and stuff. And when you haven't paid attention to yourself in that long, there's a lot of realizations that come up, and it's hard. Don't think I'm just saying it just happens. No, this is a boiling pot of coffee as well.
Do you still, because I feel like you've turned a corner, things have gotten better. Yeah. But I feel like it was definitely noticeable. You turned to, you called it a crutch before. Actually, I want to ask about that. Like, what did you mean by like podcasting as a crutch? Like, is that always been like a safety net for you? Is it something else? Is it a crutch now, or was it a crutch then? And by that, do you mean like a support system?
Like there was this podcasting space.
Yeah.
For the longest time, the reason that I probably have a more love and passion for it than a lot of, just in general than I think than I should, is because it felt like my safe space.
Mm-hmm.
This was the only thing that I had for me, was podcasting and work. And work's, I mean, look, I like my job, right? But it's work.
Yep.
And so when living room clutter was doing what it was, and character crunch was a thing, and getting to guest on these shows, the reason that you saw this beaming, wonderful, happy face is because this is the happiest stuff I had.
Yeah, man.
And that's the truth. And it still is. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I still absolutely loved podcasting. Right.
But now everything else is so much better that like these aren't like quite the peaks. It's just like now you've got like rolling hills of awesomeness, basically.
Yeah, no, it is. It's rolling hills of awesomeness. I when I go out, I get to decide what it's not just about. It's such a hard thing to explain, but I mean, if you felt it the way I do, I guess you'd see it. But it's like just every decision that I get to make now, I feel like I get to make the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like no matter what it was, even from the smallest thing, I wasn't making any of the decisions.
Mm-hmm. And that's not a partnership.
No, that's not a partnership. That's not teamwork. That's not how this works. There's got to be a level of communication, and I guess I've learned even more about how that works recently, more than I ever have in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But
was that when you met Johnny Casino?
Yeah, it was John.
Yeah.
Thanks to John, I learned about communication and how like we can pretend to fight on our show.
Okay.
And then sometimes like you just got to get Sean to jump in here and make you guys feel better, because at some point you're actually fighting about like the importance of crucial moments in the Star Wars story.
Yes, it's a spoiler. I don't care what anybody says, and I also need to find a sound clip of him saying that it's not a spoiler. The thing that happened in Force Awakens, everybody, is a spoiler.
Yes.
Definitely a spoiler. I was gonna get into the good news story, Dave, but I don't know if we're actually gonna have time to fully explore. So I want to pin this a little bit, because I do want to pivot over to John as well. I want to pivot over to some of the shows that you have done since, and maybe that's the vehicle that I'll use to do that on the Xbox Drive. You started a show when all of this went down. You started a show called Dude Swipe Right. And It was about like discovering online dating, and you did this with a fellow DaceSpace podcaster. Tell me about Dude Swipe Right and what that experience was for you, man.
Hi, Tim, who bailed because I'm pretty sure he had a really bad date. I think I can say this now.
Fair.
Anyway, Dude Swipe Right came out of the fact that I was single, and I took some time. Like, don't get me wrong, it took a little bit of time, but like, there's this weird space, and I'm just gonna explain why this happened, Sean. Mm-hmm. There's this weird, like, inside-y kind of like joke about how like Tinder and online dating works, about swiping right and left, and like 90% of the reason this all exists,
what's
right?
this?
Like in the first place, like why Dude Swipe Right became a thing,
right?
Was I installed it solely to find out what it meant to swipe right and left, because I'd been out of the loop for so long.
You heard it was a thing, and you're like, what are the kids even saying? You got to get back in touch with the youths of the world.
Yeah, no idea.
And I'm still amazing.
That is seriously the reason I installed the app. Okay, now here's the next part.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, screw it. You know what? I'm gonna go out with some of these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I went out, and I was like, okay, number one, dating is weird.
Yeah.
Dating again after not dating for 7 years.
No kidding.
Realistically, like, is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like completely missed college dating, right? I was like, okay, Like, where do I fit this in? Like, I've got to talk about this somewhere, because there's no way I can just like go out and do this, because this is the kind of person I am now, and like, I don't know, I need to creatively express it and tell you, and that's why we can kind of talk about this, and it'll come out more in time, and clearer, and the message will make more sense at some point, hopefully. Hopefully people understand what I said. But
no, I don't think they will.
No, I don't think they will either. You do, because you know what happened. But I start going out on these dates, and I'm like, all right, so I got to talk about this somewhere. Like, there's got to be a spot in the show, and like I can mention these things on Forget Being Cool, but that seems weird. Like, it feels out of place. Like, this is a nerd geek video game podcast. Like, nobody wants to hear about my dating life, like, at all. But I want to talk about it with somebody. And so I start talking to him about it, like, just his dating and stuff, because he finds out about this. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so let's record this thing. Like, let's just do a dating show and see how it goes. And the truth is, that show had more potential, I think, than most of my podcasts.
It's a great idea, man.
And it's still a great idea. And I still think, even despite where this happy ending all lines up, I still think I'd have enough content to talk about. But people seem to really enjoy it. But it really just spawned out of me going, all right, I'm on Tinder. That's weird. Number one.
Do you think you need it now, though? Like, you say, like, it had potential, at least from like a content perspective and like something to talk about, but like that's not necessarily why you did that show. And I also want to just give you like credit for, like, I've never seen anybody just be like, I want to do a show, here it is. This is a show. And just as easily or quickly, like, just go, that's not working, walk away. Like I've never seen that before. There's usually like months and months of planning, and there's all this like, this is gotta be a perfect show from the day one.
Hi creators, because I know there's a lot of you out here who listen to this show. Although you probably turned it off because Dave babbled on about his life and coffee pots for some reason at 45 minutes. Let me let you in on a little secret about making a show, Sean.
Okay, tell me, Dave.
And I told you this. I've told you that. I've told you this.
This was very good advice, man. You got me.
I mean this.
Yep.
And anybody who just looks at this and goes, no way. Just make it.
Yeah.
Just don't stop thinking about it. Stop hesitating. Stop messaging people for ideas. Stop asking for approval of some kind, right? Like, you got an idea? Go make it. Just and it comes out and it's a piece of garbage at the end. I dropped my phone. If it comes out a piece of garbage at the end, then oh well. Yeah. You made it.
Yeah, man.
Character Crunch has gone through like 7 revisions of format. Like, so what? I also consider like just making a feed on DaceSpace as just like DaceSpace pilot program.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just make shows, and just like, if you guys have an idea, like, just make an episode and just see how it goes, and if you really like it, you turn it into a show.
Dude, that's a really good idea. You're like ID at Xbox, but for podcasts.
Right.
Like, who's got an idea? Self-publish on DaceSpace.
Right. Email it to me, we'll put it up.
That's amazing.
But like, here's the thing. Like, just get out there and make it, right? Yeah. So if I say, okay, I want to talk about these dating things, I think there's potential to be semi-entertaining here. Yeah. And I start doing it, and what I started to realize, and despite the fact that we're not doing it anymore, but like, there's endless amounts of content. There's articles, there's stuff to pull from, there's news, there's all this stuff. Yeah. Even now I still stumble upon it. Like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, man.
And if people enjoy it, that's great. And people did. They reached out and enjoyed it, and I was glad. I was happy to see this. Like, this overwhelming support for this weird thing that I decided to do that's completely unrelated to everything else. Yeah. And that's part of it too, is like, just because you love your favorite, PlayStation podcast or Nintendo or Xbox podcast, like, that doesn't mean that's what you have to do. Like, you have another passion, and there's a market out there for anybody. It hosts the #1 rhythm gaming podcast, for God's sake. Why would anybody want Why would anybody want a rhythm gaming podcast?
Dude, I remember when you told me that, like I redlined my audio was just like and I'm like, oh wait a minute, this is not a joke. Like this is actually, I was just like blown away, and it was a key moment for me doing this show of like, don't laugh at people when they're telling you about their project. So, like, Dave didn't mean that as a joke, but I thought like because you're so jolly and like you were laughing as you were saying it, like I feel like I over laughed. I have like vivid memories of particular conversations that I've had with people, and that is definitely one of them. Like, oh man, I totally laughed too much at that. And so like this notion, I saw it in you when we first chatted for the very first time. I've seen it in you since then, and this is an excellent example of Forget Being Cool and Do Swipe Right and all these other shows that you've created and or brought onto the DaceSpace network. Like I've recognized that in you from day one of like there's such a passion for podcasting, and I feel like I'm not downplaying anybody's passion for it. Like especially if you make it, then obviously you're on another level. But like there was something about you and wanting to like allow other people to be part of this family that I'm like, that's why DaceSpace is a thing, and that's why I wanted to try and get Bobby shows on there and like try and make this I don't even know what it is. And that's the thing, is that all I know is that we're better together. We're better together than we are apart. We're stronger. We reach out to more people. We become friends with more people. And then like, who the hell knows? Who knew that I would be doing a show with you while driving my car to work talking about Xbox? But the thing is, you are only able to grow and discover new things when you are with other people. And that's like the nature of this show, is like meeting people. Like I wasn't able to lock down people from We the Nerdy to talk about video games each and every week. And I'm like, well, I can't do it by myself. Like that's stupid. So that's all part, and I recognize that spirit in you. And that's why I think DaceSpace is amazing. I
listen to podcasts like from the minute podcasts.
Those are the ones that don't make it.
Yeah, they pod fade.
Yeah.
I listened to podcasts since the minute like they got put in iTunes. Like I was god dang. I was burning CDs. I was burning CDs of podcasts.
That's amazing.
And listening to them in portable CD players while they skipped on my walks to work.
That's incredible.
To school. I walk to work now.
So it's been a while.
Yeah, but I mean, that's how long. I was before I had an iPod, for God's sake, okay? And here's the thing. It's like there was this overwhelming idea that this was like, people would say this was easy, right? But I didn't believe them.
Yeah.
And I took my time. I learned. I kept trying to make this a thing. And I was like, one of these days somebody will tell me how podcasts work, because all I ever hear is RSS and FeedBurner.
Yeah.
And Stitcher.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Like, what are they talking about? Somebody just says WordPress, and you're like, WordPress is confusing, and I don't get it.
It just keeps asking me to log in. I don't understand this.
Yeah.
I don't have a login.
Anyway, so I'm like, if I ever do this, I'm not just gonna put this here for me. This is never about my podcast. It never was meant to be. That's why I always called it the DaceSpace Podcast Network. Sure, at the beginning, it was freaking 5 shows of Dave. Blah, blah, blah. Dave's talking about disabilities, and Dave's talking about video games, and Dave's talking about old cartoons. And this is what it is. But I will continue to push this idea that I would like this to be a bigger thing than it is, because I think podcasting, despite the fact that it's not that hard to get into, right? Like once you know, it seems like this overwhelming idea, and then like this community formed around it. Meeting you, meeting Bobby, and the Nintendo dads, and all these guys, Adam Leonard. Like this became this group of us, right? And it became something more, and it was like this is what it matters, and this is what I want it to be.
Yep. Yeah, man, I think it's amazing. As we get to this time, Dave,
I know
in the show,
I made your show so long, and all I did is babble about hot cop.
What I will do to make sure that it all fits is I will put both of us on squirrel speed, so we just kind of like buzz through this whole thing, and it'll lose all of its emotional impact and all of that kind of stuff. It'll just
good.
Yeah,
it's good.
It'll be 20 minutes long. It'll be
last piece of emotional.
No, well,
advice.
I want to talk about John still too. So we're not quite at the end quite yet.
Oh, well, here's a piece of emotional advice. Just make sure you're happy.
So
that's
what?
the key. So what that means?
What are you gonna do with John then?
I mean, he just doesn't understand the importance of Star Wars at this point.
Okay.
He thinks that the Fractured Butthole is probably not a good game. He's on this like I have to have a gold PS4 thing, and everybody knows how I feel about PS4 at this point. I hate it. If anybody doesn't know.
Is the PS4 your analogy for John?
No, my PS4.
Good save. Good save.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But John's approaching like PS3 evolving into PS4 right now.
No, Dave.
Where like I'm starting to not really like the games that are coming out on this console. Like I'm still starting to like go, God, I really miss the PS2 era. PS3 is all right, but this Uncharted game is not nearly as good as Jak and Daxter. Naughty Dog has lost their touch.
Do you think do you think you should just like swap him out for Ben Butler?
Ben's got too good of aim
that's true.
To be on a show with me.
So I'm gonna just like save ourselves from the hate that's gonna happen out of this by just letting John know that I get this all the time. I'm on the cutting edge. The chopping block of if we ran Nintendo, and I have been since the day that it started. There have been people who are better, smarter, funnier, or actually like Nintendo far more than me.
Let's be honest. If anybody's on the chopping block for Forget Being Cool, it's me.
Well, and I've actually told Bobby to F off to his face a number of times, so let's just say I don't even know what I'm trying to say. All I'm saying is that we don't really mean it.
There's gonna be that boiling pot of coffee on Forget Being Cool at some point.
I don't want that to happen.
No,
I don't want that to happen. I remember when you guys were doing Shelved and Forgotten, and Justin Masson messaged me on Twitter, and he's like, "Hey man, have you listened to Shelved and Forgotten?" And like, it's really good. And I'm like, "You're right, Justin Masson from Nintendo Dads. It is really good." And I've always like just really enjoyed you guys together, and I hope that you guys still enjoy each other as much as you did when you started that show. The budding, there's the honeymoon phase. Maybe the honeymoon phase is over, but then you realize that you fell in love for a reason, and that you're star-crossed lovers. Star-crossed podcasters.
We like Star Fox together. We'll always have that. We like Star Fox Zero.
That's very nice. That's so weird. I'm pretty sure it's here. I have most of my Wii U games here. Yeah, it's there. I thought maybe it might have been one of the only, like, of the whatever I have 30 games, that it might be one of the only ones that's still in the box, but I have it out here ready to play.
There's this thing about John and I, and I'll just expose this.
Tell me about it, Dave. I'm ready.
Our show's very ripped off like the morning stream, which is another podcast that does like 4 times a week in the morning talking about video games and stuff. But like they're mostly like generic news show. And John and I, when we started our show, we were like, we don't want to be too similar to this. Like, we're clearly ripping their format a little bit.
Yeah.
But we don't want to be similar at all. Like, we want to be different. And after 50 episodes of this show, which I think after 50 episodes you kind of learn like what a show is, even though we kind of fast tracked that because we do 3 a week.
Yeah.
You learn that we're very different because John and I like pretend to hate each other. It seems like, and Brian and Scott on the morning stream like absolutely love each other and bounce off each other like they're the nicest best friends ever.
Yeah.
And John and I. When John and I get done, we laugh and go, I hope people don't really actually think we hate each other.
I'm worried about you guys. I often worry about my friends who I think that there's friction. And there's this, I've done this many times before in my past, and I go up to them and I whisper, "Are you guys fighting? Please don't fight. Please be friends. I think you guys are perfect for one another, even though maybe John hates things that you enjoy just for the sake of hating things because it's something that you enjoy." John, stop that.
That's because he's a boring person.
That's John, really mean. That's very mean of you to say. I may have a clip of you saying that I can share with people, maybe even put at the very end of this episode. Dave, do you have a request? Let me put you on the spot a little bit. I, for the normal shows, put Jason, as you know, and I wish I could remember who. I feel like James Michael Ajeski reminded me of the Coconut Monkey from PC Gamer, so I don't think it was him, but it was right around that time that somebody reminded me of press X for Jason. Dave, my question for you is, on the spot, do you have anything from video games or any other like entertainment that I should end this show with? Because I don't do Jason for the recurring guests.
No, the only request that I have upon this episode is that you play your old like Sarah McLachlan podcast review thing.
That's a good one. Okay.
Please play that.
Okay, I can open with the Sarah McLachlan. Yes, I will do that for you, Dave.
Because it's been a long time since I've heard that, and that made me smile every time.
Maybe you're pooping right now. Is that the one?
I did.
Did I say that?
I think
no. Okay, no. Well, people will have heard it by now. That's the best part, is that they will have already like they'll be like, why did you play that? And it's at the very end of this episode that
there's new listeners and there's new listeners who probably have never heard you say it.
I'll dig that up. That'll come out of the dusty old folders of my We the GamerCast folders.
Okay,
Dave, this was fun, man. I feel like I'm sorry, John, that we didn't get to talk to you nearly as much as I thought we might, but I think this maybe was better. It's just the way things worked out. Dave Moore. Yeah. Where do people find you on the Twitter? What else? What do you want them to check out?
I'm at DaceSpace. It's DaceSpace. I run the DaceSpace Podcast Network, where you can find this show. This show's on there. We the GamerCast.
You just like you can't even help it. It's like you're like the drooling dogs at the bell or whatever. That's a mean thing to say.
This thing that I've look. I hate saying it this way, but this thing that I built.
Yeah.
Like, because I didn't build it, we built it, but this thing that I built, I'm very proud of. Like, it makes me happy, and no matter what, it's always something that I'll be proud of. Even if every show that's on the network were to just be like, yeah, we're done podcasting. No more We the GamerCast. No more making us better. No more running Nintendo or Xbox driving.
Yeah, well, like, if We the GamerCast ever leaves, you can just turn it into We the Gamer Drive.
If anybody learned how to be cool, like, I don't know. It would be all okay if dudes were to swipe right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If people were to blow their warp whistles more often.
Then all we would have is just a little bit of Nintendo nostalgia.
Yeah.
Did we miss anything? Probably.
Yeah, probably.
PNG.
Yeah.
Okay, bye, Dave.
Bye, Sean. I'll see you in the morning for the Xbox Drive.
And that's it. That's the show, Lincoln. We're done. Another returning guest done on We the GamerCast. Thanks to you and all your help at patreon.com/makeusbetter. Guys, thank you so much. I'm loving doing this alternate sort of look at the show. I feel like it's different. I approach it a little differently, so hopefully you guys are digging it. Let me know. By the way, today we're going to end with Jason, and I want you to let me know what you'd like at the end. I think it should be different. I don't know how well. Nobody talked to me about My Face is Tired from Mass Effect, which I think is hilarious and is really bad. I was just about to go on a bit of a rabbit hole and try to find something that is equally bad, but I couldn't think of anything on my own, and I don't want to just like randomly come up with something just cuz. So guys, hit me up. I'm at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. Please reach out to Dave. He's DaceSpace. He's the DaceSpace. And in case you were wondering, the music was from the original time Dave was on here. It was all about Crash Bandicoot. We talked about how he loved that game originally, and now with the remaster that's come out since then, I'd love to, maybe I should have brought that up with Dave in this conversation. So that was great. Also, for the audio listeners, that old Sarah McLachlan plea for reviews, that's all thanks to Dave. I didn't put it on the video version because I don't have anything to go with it. I didn't want the episode. You know what? Maybe I'll put that at the end of the video, with just maybe the We the Nerdy thing. I'm just thinking out loud here. Guys, remember, I'm Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. I'm on the Xbox Drive with Dave Moore. I record it while I drive to work. We talk about Xbox, and this morning we went to McDonald's and I grabbed some McDonald's toys. So Mario, there's nothing Xbox to buy at McDonald's, but that's okay. That's just how it went. So they're here. See them on the video. They're still in the packaging. I'm not sure if I'm going to take them out, probably because they look ugly in the packaging. Thank you so much to our artists, Gary Gray and Adam Leonhardt. Our video designer, Antonio Guillen, and of course this episode and all episodes of We the GamerCast is powered by the DaceSpace network of podcasts, just like the Warp Whistle and Forget Being Cool. Otherwise, this is episode 110, We the GamerCast special. It's now in your ears and your eyeballs. Thank you again for listening. I'll be back on Monday. I hope you're there too. Now it's time for Jason Lincoln. You cool? You cool over there? It's time for Jason. Do you think it's okay if I do the Jason thing now? Sounds good. Jason.
Jason! 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 Sean! 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 Sean, where are you? Jason! 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 Sean! 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 Jason! 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 Jason!